Hey, what's up? GW coming to you live. First of all, big shout out to our new subscriber, my new subscriber, Alyssa Hamill. Thank you, much appreciated. Also, got to give a big shout out to the Knight Rider Historical Preservation Society. Joe, you know who you are. I probably got that name wrong, but anyway, keep rocking. And we actually got a new subscriber, Dakota DiPaolo. Apparently, she's a swimsuit model, whatever. Hey, she joined me. She listens to me. Cool. She actually commented on my video about Carla, which was done some years ago, and I'm glad people are still watching my videos in circulation. Also, big shout out to Josh Klaus, my man JC, Connor, you know. Big shout out to Silver Stream Coffee Club, Coffee Roastery, not club, sorry. Just wanted to get all those shout outs out before I talk about this, because this is a pretty interesting topic I got today for you, and it's about that movie Michael that came out about Michael Jackson. And I'd like to just share some of my thoughts on it, and you can take them for what they're worth. I know the movie's going to be a monster and whatnot, but I think that maybe I can at least give you my take on the whole thing. So now that we got the shout outs out the way, and I know there's a lot of people I missed, but also everybody that watches me, everybody that gets a chance to check my videos out, I really appreciate it. And I'm surprised that, like I said, that Carla video, which I cut a couple years ago, is still getting played and people still feel about that. When I cut that real quick, when I cut that video, I had just heard that she had just passed away. And like I said, she was a very dear friend of mine. I explained everything in the video. But I wish some of you people could meet her because she had an impact on my life. And I think that as you go through life, certain people have an impact on you. And I just told my bosses that too. They switched the situation for me, and they are bringing out the best in me. And I told my man, MS, I'm just going to use initials because I don't know if they want to be mentioned, but they know who they are. I told my man MS, I said, thank you for bringing out the leader part of me that I didn't even know existed. And I think people do that. I think when you go through life, people bring the best out in you, or they bring a part of you out that you might have known was there, but maybe they complete it by letting you realize your full potential. And my man Matt was actually one of the driving forces, along with my man MS, who made me realize that I have more potential than what I had originally thought. But enough about that. Let's talk about this movie, my thoughts on it, my takes on it, what I've read, and we'll go from there. So, getting into this movie, one of the first things that I had read about was how the Michael Jackson estate had paid an obscene amount of cash to cover up the negative parts of Michael Jackson's life. Also, in reading about that, what you read about is critics find this movie boring even by biography standards. I guess everything was, termed, hollow, for lack of a better word. The one praising bright light about this film is that Michael Jackson's nephew, Jafar Jackson, who seems like a pretty cool cat in interviews. I don't know much about him. But apparently he did a hell of a good job portraying Michael down to the T, which would make sense because he probably knew him a little bit toward the end of Michael's life. And he does a real good job. In fact, at the premiere, one of the Jackson family broken down in tears over the transformation. You guys can look it up. I don't know the Jackson family all that well, so I know Michael, LaToya, obviously Janet. Everybody knows Janet, and Tito. But I don't know how many they go. I didn't follow the Jackson 5. I was not a big fan. But the movie covers his growing up. It pictures the physical abuse and how Michael escapes from it and holds on to his childhood, and it covers from when he was a kid all the way to the movie or the music video Bad, the Bad tour. You guys remember that video? He was on, everybody knows that video. He's on the subway and dressed like a guy, had that black jacket. Man, he was cool. And it also was the first biography that I know that at the end credits says to be continued. That was made abundantly clear in every review that I read. And this is where I kind of have a twofold problem with this film. But before I go into that, let me tell you about my experience growing up with Michael Jackson. Because everybody, when you were a kid, I had the beat it jacket, the cool jacket. And I had the white glove, and my buddy Ray, the one I told you had cancer, he has a picture of me dressed up as Gene Simmons playing the guitar, and also me as Michael Jackson, which is crazy. I believe that picture still exists. If it's in print, it'd be something to see. My sister had a big picture of Michael Jackson on her wall, and I believe it was from the Thriller album. And that was funny because I remember Friday night videos used to be on late, like if it was on tonight, it'd probably be on from 11 to 1, right? And they did a special one time. We had it on VHS. It was all Michael Jackson videos, right? And it had Bad, it had Thriller. In fact, Bad, I remember my cousin Beth had a copy of it on VHS because I don't know where she got it, but it was not on regular TV. And she had a copy, and we copied it. We had to do VCRs. We copied it. It was big time stuff. And I remember the video for Thriller. That was my favorite video for a while there because I was like, zombies and dancing and Michael Jackson? This is crazy. My sister could not watch the beginning of that video. Because when he turned into a werewolf, it wasn't a werewolf to her. It was a bear wolf. She always said werewolf with bear, so that was kind of cool. She said, I don't like the bear wolf. And to tell you the truth, the thing was creepy. When he was transforming, there was a few shots that really made you cringe. Then you had zombies dancing in the street, and that was cool. And at the end of the video, kind of left you with a question mark, like, is this boy a werewolf or is it not? Because he was watching the movie of what happened in the video, and it was crazy. And then that zombie with the oil in his mouth, that was great. And then you heard about his hair catching on fire, which is portrayed in the movie. But I never was a big fan of Michael Jackson. I think Beat It was my favorite video because I'm like, this is a cool concept. You got street gangs going at it. Yeah. The cat gets into it now. You had street gangs going at it, and you had that Liberty Bell sound, that big bang, doo-doo. And when you're a kid, that was it, man. You wanted to be that dude. You wanted to see those fights. You wanted to be dancing with them zombies. And I remember we went to Florida. This is after the Dangerous album, I believe. And Florida, in Universal Studios or Disney World somewhere, they had Captain EO, which he played like it was like a Star Wars thing, right? And I liked him. And around that time Captain EO came out, it wasn't too long after that the accusations started flying around, and I kind of just drifted away from MJ. And but I grew up with him, and I would do the dances, except for the moonwalk. I couldn't do that. And I think a lot of kids my age, were sort of into Michael Jackson a little bit. And then he just kind of fell off the deep end with his ideas and some of the things he did, and it was just crazy. It really was. Then when we moved into the house some 25 years ago, when we moved into the house some years ago, we had HBO. This was when HBO Max first started. They had that Surviving Neverland, and it chronicled the survivors of the MJ, sex molestation trial. And I watched that. And it was on the tip of my tongue to do a YouTube review, but I didn't, because the film was the only film, one of the only films that I have seen that turned my stomach for some reason or another, and I can't tell you why. It made me want to throw up multiple times. And I remember watching both parts, because there was two parts. And I went into the bedroom where my wife was sleeping, and I grabbed her and I just gave her a hug. And to this day, I don't know why I did that, but the movie made me feel so disgusting. Like, I was glad I wasn't there. But prior to that, you had Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman turned his whole life around because of MJ. He got into the music hardcore. And I like Corey. I love Corey to death. Corey's one of my favorite actors. And then Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin did the black and white video, I think. He was in there. But anyway, so Michael Jackson has always been a fixture in my childhood, good or bad. So I'm reading about the new movie, and I'm watching clips because they have some YouTube clips and stuff. And it seems like the story and the script are wooden, and being that the fact that it's sanitized, when you say Michael Jackson, a lot of things come to your head, and some of them I touched on. But my thing is, if you're going to do a biography, whether it's good or bad, you put it in, because the good and bad things define the biography you're talking about, I mean, let's think about it. If The People versus Larry Flint was sanitized, would it have won Milos Forman an Academy Award or an Oscar? I don't think so. So, I mean, you don't really know. The other thing that was weird is that Janet Jackson, she refused to let her character be in the film, I read. And I heard that the film also takes fictional liberties with the story. Now, one thing I can tell you that is in there, by fact, is when he was shooting the Pepsi commercial, because Michael Jackson used to do commercials for everything, And he caught his hair on fire. He got second and third degree burns all over. And I remember hearing about that on the news, and I was just like too young to really give much of a feeling on that. But that's in the film. And I know the music video for Thriller is in the film as well. And it looks like a shot-for-shot deal. And like I said, that's a song that's so iconic that I guess they had to put it in there, for Tipping Point. They also said that the movie kind of goes off the rails a little bit and goes into Michael's descent after his hair catching on fire. And I started reading about that, and it seems like at that point he got hooked on painkillers and everything just sort of fell apart, and he got sideways, man, basically. And like I said, then, all the accusations come flying out the woodwork, which they're not going to show in this first part of the movie. If they do a second part, I doubt that they will put that in there, because I guess Michael Jackson estate wants him to be, recognized like Elvis. Well, I can't even say that because Elvis was a drug addict at points. I guess they want him recognized as a good, clean, and wholesome music figure, and that's all fine and good. But again, if you're going to tell a biography, delve deep into the controversial stuff. Show me what he was all about. Don't give me the squeaky clean version when we know there's another side around the corner. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Big drama on the Michael Jackson front. And I don't know how well this is. I mean, obviously the movie's going to be a monster. There's no doubt about that. People are going to go see it, whether it's total BS or half fiction, half truth. People are going to see it. And me and a coworker, Breezy Lynn, we were talking about When we were kids, Sega Genesis come out, Moonwalker hit. And this was shortly before Captain EO, right? And I have that movie downstairs and I have never seen it. And it seems like the weirdest piece of film. And it's almost, I wonder if that's going to be, well, no, because this was after Bad. I wonder if that whole thing will be in the next video or if they do it or what they're going to do. But it just seems to me like, this script could have been so much better, so much more alluring to people that have followed this and people that have grown up and been through this whole Michael Jackson thing, like me. When I was growing up, Thriller was the defining album. Thriller defined a generation, that record. And he did collaborations that were legendary, with Paul McCartney, The Girl Is Mine. He did that, yeah. And he did Billie Jean, another iconic song. When you saw that video, you wanted to dance on them squares on the sidewalk and make them light up. You did when you were a kid. You really did. But when you think about, how off the rail he went, you kind of don't want to dance on them squares, And I remember, we had one of them books, a storybook. It was about Yay Big. It was a Thriller book, and it had some Michael Jackson information. It was about Yay Big, one of them movie tie-in type, kids books. And it had, Thriller, it had, Beat It, it had, the White Glove in the museum and all that stuff. And, it makes you wonder, was that the record that was his ultimate record? And everything else was secondary due to the accusations and all that, which, again, is not going to be shown. So my point is how well are people that lived through this whole timeline, how well is this going to hold up for people that know, that have been in there, And then let's just take a gander. Let's just say they do make a second part, okay? Are you going to cover from the Bad tour, right, all the way up till the death, or is it going to be another movie? And if so, is it going to be bland and wooden acted like this one is, the critics say? Now, I've never seen it. And I also have a feeling that this movie is probably going to land on HBO because, guys, years and years and years ago, right? Years and years and years ago, Michael Jackson did a concert on HBO. And it was strictly for HBO. And HBO paid the Jackson estate millions of dollars to carry anything Michael Jackson related, right? Upcoming concerts, biopics, whatever. They shelled out, which is why you cannot find Surviving Neverland on there. It was shown on HBO. Michael Jackson estate pulled it off there within a week of it airing. Now you can find the Oprah interview with those same people, talking about it, but you can't find the actual movie, which is a shame. I'm sure there are dealers out there that can send you that, and I would not recommend watching it because it's going to make you feel like you need to go to your girlfriend and give her a hug, for no other, or your wife, give her a hug for no other reason. I don't know what you could do if you want to keep the film sanitized to make it alluring to people that know better, is all I'm saying. The idea of the original script was, and you'll read this too, is if you dig deep enough into this movie. And this movie was tried to be, produced multiple times. Multiple times it tried to be produced and pushed back and delayed and whatnot. But what you will find was that they wanted the sexual molestation accusations in there to show the demise of Jackson's career in the third act. And it would make sense. Because if you look at it in a basic way, you have your Scorsese type deal where you get noticed, you get popular, you go through all this drama, the accusations happen, now you're on a downward spiral. It'd be perfect for a biopic, and that's what most biopics are. I mean, Casino, Wolf of Wall Street, Rocky, right? Everybody reaches a peak and then gradually goes down a hill. To what extent is up to the situations they're in, right? But they had to change that because they wanted Michael's image to be good, clean, and wholesome, as Eddie Murphy would say. And, I wonder, too, if that stuff is going to be even referenced in the film, because once Michael Jackson got famous, everybody came out with the jokes. Once the accusations started hitting, everybody had a field day. Comedians had a field day with it. Late night talk show hosts had a field day with it. Michael Jackson, in a sense, became a lightning rod. So much so that Howard Stern portrayed him in the New Year's Eve Rotten Eve pay-per-view as the accusations were going on. And it would be interesting to see if they actually made a legit movie. Now, I know it's Hollywood. You got to fudge facts and whatnot. And I really, to this day, I don't know what to think of the guy. People come up to me sometimes and go, do you think he did it? I go, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think he never let go of his childhood. I think there was an issue there. I think that maybe that he had enough money, he could pretty much do whatever he wanted to do, and that's a fact. I mean, when you're buying the Elephant Man bones, I mean, come on now, you got more money than you need. When you're setting up amusement parks in the back of your house, I think you're pretty much above and beyond, And people go, well, yeah, he could have done it. He could have paid those people off. I think he just never let go of childhood and didn't know how to act as an adult. That's what I'm going to say. And the other weird thing that I wonder if the movie covers is after the fire with the Pepsi commercial, I wonder if it's going to cover the skin cancer, the very rare skin cancer that only he had, because I don't know anybody else that goes from black to white or white to black. I don't know. But I don't know all medical stuff, so I'm not the guy to ask. It's just going to be a strange situation for this film to be in, because on one hand it shows part of what made Michael famous. On the other hand, it doesn't want to show how his career took a downward slope, because they're afraid to show that, because Michael was, I think they're afraid to show it because, according to Billboard and everybody else, I think that Michael is one of the most influential people in history. I think that's what they think, and I think that's what it is. But it's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be any deleted scenes that they took out that they did film, or what. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the film. I just felt like I'd give you my thoughts on it. Obviously, I'm not going to go see it. I don't ever go to the movies to see things. I have a theater room downstairs. I go check that out there. Or I watch things whenever they premiere. But I know you can already get a copy of the Blu-ray or the DVD. People are already, advertising it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this film is perceived and what they're going to do for a follow-up. Because I'm wondering, if they keep all the child molestation stuff out, are they going to actually show drug use? Or are they going to show how he died? Or are they going to just say he died in his sleep in The King of Pop or something like that? You wonder. But regardless, those are my thoughts on the Michael movie. And if it wasn't for it being sanitized, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. And I love biographies. I do. I watch some of the, because they're the most grittiest movies. And you watch a really good one, you feel like you're living that person's life for 2.5 hours. I watched that movie Lenny Bruce with Dustin Hoffman, and it opened my eyes to not only how culture was back then in the late 60s, early 70s, but how one man who was so clever at telling jokes could just take a downward descent, and you feel like you're watching them, like you're in the same room with them. Those are the movies I like. Those are the biographies, and that's what a biography should be. So, again, that's my 2 cents on the movie Michael. I hope I clued you in. Definitely read up on it, and you'll find exactly the same stuff I found. Maybe more. Who knows? Anyway, peace.